Alright, this is a game that I had yesterday in the Tier 10 French medium, the Bachet, on Sand River. And so a lot of times you look at the teams and see what your composition looks like, see what the team skill is like. They have better team skill on their team, but there's not a whole lot that you can do with that right off the bat. What you do want to look at is the composition. There's three big arty on both sides, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the south first to try to spot their K-line attack. And one of the reasons why we want to do that is that they're pretty vulnerable as they drive west on this K-line here. But if you allow them to get up into this sort of K5 area, then they're going to start getting good shots on your south attack. So you want to get out there as soon as you can. So usually the best way to drive there, like on most maps, is to actually go there directly. And if they push somebody down the middle or whatever, you can just move into a position where you have a little bit more cover. But in this case, we're basically going to be allowed to drive out there. So you want to kind of stop near one of these ridges, either this one right here that I'm just going over, or onto this next one, depending upon the speed of your tank and what you think their speed is. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to spot the K-line and then look at our dispersion. And so if you watch our dispersion, right, we have a lot of guys heading down south. We've got some guys that are still in the base. We've got an E3 that's going to play this middle over here, and we send one tank to the north. So that's really suggestive that we're putting all of our eggs in this south basket. We see that they're not sending any of their fast tanks here, otherwise we would have seen them by now, right? So we know that they haven't sent any fast tanks here, so that's good for us because, again, like I said, if they can get tanks into that K5-ish area, or up against the ridge that I'm on, then they're in a good position to light our team and get easy shots on our team. But where that JT is, for example, he was one of the guys that we lit just as we were leaving there, he's not in a good position because he's just going to get fired upon. And so because we have so many tanks here, we don't really know what their dispersion is like. We don't really have that much data, but this bat chat was spotted in the middle, so I'm going to try to get into a position where I can shoot at him, because this guy is the bigger danger to us now, because he's sort of on the flank and can spot these guys on the south if they go too high on this ridge, like these two 140s right here. But he's going to get taken out because he didn't run. He just kind of stood there for a little bit too long. And then my goal now, since we have more than enough tanks to hold this south, and there's nothing that I can really do that they're not doing themselves. So my goal now is to go back up into this middle, try to figure out what they have here, if anything, and try to get some support fire. As a faster tank, one of the good early to mid-game plays is to play the center ridge, depending on what they have up here and depending on what they have on their base side. And so that's one of the things that we're looking for. And we see that they're pushing over on this north side, which is fine. I mean, we kind of expected that to happen. We didn't really send that much up here. And I think I'm going to fail pretty hard on killing the C-75, or trying to kill the C-75. And when his hull is a little bit turned towards me, but he's giving me side turret, so I'm trying to shoot turret there, not hull. And then now I'm clipping, and then these guys needed to recognize that we had most of our guys down here and not be so aggressive, but them's the breaks. So we do have a better idea of what their dispersion is like. So they've got a lot of guys in this column here, right? They've got guys on that A line behind the hill on the D line, and they have at least a T-57 on here. So I'm going to try to see if I can find anything further forward. We're pushing east on the K line. That's not really what you want to do. Once you win this encounter on that sort of K4, K5 area, you want to go back and win the other side. You don't want to continue pushing along the K, because pushing along the K, particularly if they're even reasonably fortified, they're just going to own you as you go in. But that's what our team does. And part of that is, part of the reason why there's a skill gap is because they don't think through those actions. So if they have early success on one side, they just sort of keep going. But we've lost this north now, and so we have to anticipate that at some point they're going to come in through this A line, and our M53, M55 is going to be a little bit vulnerable. So the E3 is going to be fine where he's at least for the moment. But I'm going to need to go back to the base. And I'm just hoping that our guys don't push too aggressively over here and die in the meantime. Because you don't want to lose that flank. Because you've already, you know, quote-unquote won it. So having those guys die now and leaving it open would be unfortunate. So I have a 268 who's here. There's M53, M55 in the ditch, but he's not going to be able to do much. There's a Foch 155 on the right. He's one-ish shot. And there's an E50 in here. So it's very easy for me to just charge in and get to the side / back of the E50. The 140 is staying back, but see the Foch 155 dives in here, and he sort of gets himself stuck on that little ledge there, and the 268 is able to take him out fairly easily. So the 140 now, right? He just got shot by one of them. It was either the 268 or the T95. So he's basically clippable for me now, and he's driving away. And my feeling is that he's going to try to keep these guys lit. The T-57 is going to be coming over the hill towards this like F5-ish area. So all I have to do is just, you know, what you want to do in this particular case is not miss these shots, because I'm probably not going to be able to two-shot him. And I only have 3 shots in my clip. So you have to fully aim there. And I still can one-shot him, right? I have 1 shot for his health. I just need to not miss or 0 damage here. The other ever-present threat is the artillery. So that's something that I need to be aware of. This 140 is keeping himself lit by lighting that T95. So I don't really need to press up. I get a little bit too close, and I thought I might have gotten spotted by him, but I think it might have been like either the T57 or the Type 61. So I know that I'm lit right now, so you want to keep moving. And then what I'm going to do as soon as I'm remotely close to loaded is push the Type 61, except he gets killed by the 268 because he's poking out. And now that T57 is in a vulnerable position, because once the E3 lights him, I'm going to be able to shoot that T57 really easily once I'm loaded. But it turns out that our base guys who really camped in the base for the whole time are actually reasonably good at shooting things, which is somewhat astonishing, but made me happy because that certainly made my life easier. Okay, so now we know that they've got basically their base defense still over there. Right, they're pushing that FE 183 up the middle, not the best of choices. And once again, because we basically have guys on all sides of him, he's pushing up into this middle here, so the E3 can shoot him on the side, T57 can shoot him on the side. They make pretty short work of him. And then so we know that the JPE and the Waffle were both spotted on the south. So that leaves me free reign to come in through this north side of the base. And then I got lit there. I didn't think I was going to get lit there, but then I got lit there, so be sad. Obviously need more camo. And so they know where I am. So what I want to do, because I know where they are, I want to make them think that I'm coming in through this north side. And I want to see what's over here, if at all possible. So then I just jump in here, and then I start heading to the west here because I want them to think that I'm heading to the west. And then I will just basically turn around and come back. And the general rule of thumb is that when they drop spot, that's probably about the same time that you'll drop spot. And then there's something really important here. So, you know, with artillery in particular, they don't have gun depression really, especially after it was like somewhere around 8.6. And so if you're ever on low ground against an artillery that's on high ground, it's literally impossible for them to shoot you unless they have some sort of ramp to shoot down. That guy theoretically wanted to shoot me, but he didn't have the depression to do so. This 261 is the same sort of case. He's not going to be able to shoot me until he gets into that ditch. And then we have the 268 pushing through the base. And I know they have a JPE and a Waffle still in here. It's just a matter of figuring out where they are. And the JPE gets lit over in J2, so it's just the Waffle and the Arty. And I'm trying to ideally get the Waffle's attention, but because for some reason our 268 is just charging the Waffle. But I'm not able to save our 268. And then I figure out that there's still another artillery active, so I need to get out of here. So then I just leave. So they know that I'm over here, and so really the best thing for me to do, because I know their JPE is going to have to push in over here someplace eventually, is to go to the back of the JPE and kill him. So the T-95 is sort of backing up over here, so I'm going to head out over this top ridge, because if the JPE comes over or pokes over to light the T-95 in any way, like he's been doing, I should have shots on him. Otherwise, if he's content to stay back there, then what I'll do is I'll just come underneath and get around behind him. And then from where he was headed towards G1, so I'm repositioning basically to make sure that I get good shots into G1. And of course I, don't damage at least one of my shots. Because pro... Okay, and then so there's basically a waffle who's going to be reloaded by now in a T92. The thing about the waffle is that it has awful camo, so if he's anywhere out on this open plane, I can go in this bush and spot him. So I go in this bush and I don't spot him. So the key thing here is that the only way that I can lose this is if the waffle clips me before I can kill him. And the only way that he can clip me is if he catches me out in the open. So what I want to do here is I want to be very careful about how I make this approach. I want to see if I can spot him from a position where I can duck down. So like if I go up here and I spot him, I can just fall back down into that ditch, right? But then if I don't spot him, then I know that I can try to cross, and hopefully he doesn't poke out at right that instant. And so that's what the rest of this game is basically me being careful to not get waffled. So I'll come up here and I'll do the same thing, right? I just poke over, nothing, then I'll just poke a little bit more. I'll find an area where I can look out down this lane, but I always have an exit. And so they might have left, but I'm thinking that they're either in this ditch down here or they're around in this corner over here. And so I still want to be really careful, so I'm always backing up into the area. And now if I get spotted, I have two options. I can jump into the ditch, or I can just drive away. This T-92 takes a panic shot, right? And then it's just, I can get away. So if the waffle comes out now, I could have driven into the ditch, or now I'm already behind, some sort of physical cover. And the waffle pokes out. He was facing the other way. They were each covering one side. And so I don't allow him the opportunity to catch me in the open, essentially. So anyways, stat-wise, give me a new one to try. So it wasn't really that great of a game statistically for me, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, namely one that you can sort of you always want to be on the move, which is something that I always say, particularly with the medium tanks. You want to be able to get shots on a lot of different types of tanks if you at all possibly can. That usually means that you're being at least somewhat effective. And you want to probe around to find where the weak points are and where you can get into the base, where you can get into the backfield sort of thing. You want to, if you're on low ground against artillery on high ground, and you're both on level ground, so to speak, where they don't have any way to depress to shoot you, don't rush your shots. Take your time. Use that advantage, and then don't get waffled. That's a general rule of thumb. You should try not to get waffled, because getting waffled is bad. And so because we were mobile, and because we sort of kept our gun in position to actually fire it at a lot of things, we end up doing a lot of damage, and that's important. We spotted a few number of their tanks. We didn't really spot as much on the south as we would have liked, but importantly, we spotted that they weren't moving fast tanks into the south, right? So they weren't going to light our guys on the south and kill them, which is typically the way that south loses, is if they get their south attack force in too deep and you can't root them out. Whereas if they play more passive, then it's very easy to pick away with them. And that's sort of what ended up happening in this game. is that their team, even though they had better players, they played a little bit too passive, and it allowed us to nibble away at them and eventually just wear them down, right? We had literally a single T-54 on the north, and he didn't see another enemy tank until 3 minutes into the game. So, you know, it's things like, little things like that which make the difference in these types of games. All right, so that's it for today's highlight. So I hope that was helpful in different ways, and thanks for watching.